So, is Die Hard a Christmas movie, in your opinion?
Man, so this is like a no-win question because half the people are going to hate me for it, half the people will love me for it. So let me ask you, what do you mean by that? What defines a Christmas movie? Something that you can only watch in the month of December?
Ooh, I think generally that's when people watch Christmas. Like the Hallmark Channel with these two women that live in my house has been on like,
Oh yeah,
on the
I
weekend
know.
all the time. Like, oh, A Christmas Prince or whatever.
Yeah.
No, I think it can be dual hatted. It can have the themes of Christmas, which it does. It has the cop kind of humming a Christmas tune to himself after he bought some Twinkies, and Al Powell was his name, by the way, Officer Sergeant Powell. There's the Christmas party at the top of the Nakatomi building,
Yeah.
which
So I'd
Hans
say,
Gruber rudely interrupts.
yeah, I'll go ahead and say yes, that's a Christmas movie.
Okay.
But it's also one of those Christmas movies you may be able to watch in July and still enjoy it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest movies of all time. So
Yeah. So anyway, happy or Merry Christmas, everybody, and Happy New Year. Pretty soon, Paul and I are going to discuss today, kind of how infinite banking and Christmas are related. So there's a lot of similarities between the two, between Santa's workshop, even though that's not the real reason for Christmas. We get
right.
that, but
Giving.
giving, yeah,
Yeah.
receiving, presents. So, I mean, if life insurance isn't a wonderful present, I don't know what is. So, yeah.
Giving
So
thanks, being thankful,
right.
all those things. They definitely relate.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Hope you guys enjoy this very special Christmas 2024 episode, and we'll catch you next year. Hey, I'm Dave,
And I'm Paul.
and this is the Wealth Warehouse Podcast. Well, Merry Christmas, Paul,
Merry Christmas.
and happy birthday. So, recording on your actual birthday.
Yeah, I am officially 45 as of I think 8:23 a.m. Eastern time this morning.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. Feel old.
Well, I mean, Clint Eastwood, you ever hear that story about Clint Eastwood? Somebody asked him, like, he's 80 years old, still making movies. And he said, or like, Clint, how are you doing it? And he said, don't let the old man in. Just
There you
can't
go.
let the old man in.
Nope.
So, yeah, you're not old until you think you are. So it is what it is. Not getting any younger, Paul, so you better get more life insurance.
Yeah, working on it. Plan is still in place. What we talked about a couple episodes ago. So still planning on after the first of the year to execute some term conversion.
There you go. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I need to do that next year. I think I kind of like the cadence of every other year, start a new policy. As long as the income, the cash flow supports it.
Yeah,
Right.
no, exactly. And we've talked about what I'm doing, right? I like the idea of doing these PDF maxes. And of course, all the companies have different names for these riders, but I like the idea of kind of setting it for a decade and forgetting it. And that's going to enable me to actually get more cash over time with the company over the next decade as well as I convert this term, if that
Yep.
makes sense. So after that term runs out, though, I got to figure out how to go through underwriting again.
Yeah, or you may, who knows? I mean, your death benefit will grow every year, so you may be at the point of maxing out your human life value,
Yeah.
or
Right.
keeping it maxed out, unless your income starts to, far exceed where it's at right now, and then you build more room.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. And then I can
Yeah.
just practice through Tammy's life and then Tammy, and the kids and so on and so forth.
Yeah, yeah, the kids need more than one policy
Yep.
at some point. Yeah, man. Well, hey, Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. Hope you're having a good week, and hope it is a good week. It's kind of fun. Christmas falling on a Wednesday, it kind of kills the entire week.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'll do a little bit on Monday and maybe a little bit on Friday, but pretty much nothing.
Right.
in
Yeah,
between.
we're going to be, I blocked most of my week, so I'm not going to take any meetings, just kind of enjoy the holidays.
Yep, same. So if you're trying to schedule time with me this week, it ain't going to work. There's no time available. But send me an email. I'll probably still be checking occasionally as
Yep.
I have some downtime and I'm sitting around bored. I'm afraid I'm going to get bored with a bunch of downtime, but we'll see.
You got to put up some more shiplap. You can never
Or
have
pay,
enough.
pay another live-in contractor to do it for me, to spend 4 weeks doing a 2-day job like I did this summer.
Good Lord.
So, yeah, I could have done that myself. But, yeah, well, anyway, man, let's stay on the Christmas theme,
Yes,
the Christmas
for sure.
spirit. So, when you're talking about infinite banking, well, I mean, if you don't like this movie, there's something wrong with you. But, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, where, there's so many good one-liners in there.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So many, some you can't say on TV or on podcasts, or we don't want to say it on podcasts anyway.
Right.
But yeah, one of my favorites is when Clark gets the Jelly of the Month Club. What does his brother say to, or his cousin? What does cousin Eddie say to him?
That's the gift that keeps on giving the year round, Clark.
Yep. Yeah.
That
Well,
it
it's
is, Edward.
Yep. Kind of reminds us of infinite banking. The gift that keeps on giving, even after Christmas. So, the most meaningful present in your life this year may not be under the Christmas tree. Actually, I'm going to use this as an excuse not to get my kids any gifts and just get a policy for them and be like, you're going to thank me one day. Not today. You're probably going to cry, but you're going to thank me later.
Right.
Yeah. No, I probably won't do that.
You got to have something to open, right?
Yeah. Got to have something to open.
Yeah.
But yeah, but this is something that it's really fun year after year to look at what you built and imagine what that's going to do for your family in the future. Not to mention what you can do with it today.
Yeah, and I think that's what that's what we love about this. It's funny the difference between people who are not clients, your typical person out there, most people, and then our clients, and we probably have, I don't know, Dave, maybe 500 to 600 clients between the two of us now, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
And these are people that get it, and more often than not, they're on to policy number 2, policy number 3, policy number 4, policy number 7, whatever it is, and they keep expanding their system. And I find great joy in that, because it's just like they get it, and they know this many years down the road that's going to benefit those children. It's going to benefit that generation thereafter, the generation after that, and of course, as long as they don't screw it up like the Vanderbilts. But that's always possible, right, I suppose. But they didn't have the the right things in place. So
exactly. Yeah, that is something that I've noticed that a trend lately a lot this last year, where clients who have been clients for a couple of years or even brand new clients are coming back to me saying, okay, now I'm ready to get a policy on my wife and my kids.
yeah,
And I don't know, I can only assume the reason for that is because they're better educated, and maybe they've been listening to podcasts, or there's a lot more material out there that they can learn from. But I think people are catching on a lot quicker than I ever did to this concept of, hey, I'm coming back, I'm ready for more.
yeah.
Keep doing it.
Well, speak for yourself.
I mean, I did start with 3 policies when I did start.
You started. You just you kind of just by accident, but you understood it at some level, right?
Yeah, certainly not as good as I think my clients understand it today.
Yeah,
Which I hope has a little bit to do with how I'm educating and helping their coaching process and all that. But
yep.
there's just, when people learn about it, they want to dive in, and they really want to understand it, which you really should. You should definitely understand this if you're going to commit to it for a lifetime.
Well, like Nelson always said, right? You don't arrive in knowledge, right? He talks about the arrival syndrome. He's got a reading list in the back of that book that covers a myriad of subjects: history, politics, economics, of course, finance, right? You should continue your education after you've gone through our process, right? Continue to listen to the podcast. Continue to learn. Go back and reread Becoming Your Own Banker. I mean, I love when the people. I was talking to somebody yesterday, a good dude who, I read the book and what's the name of it? I was like, well, Becoming Your Own Banker,
Yeah.
Unlocking the Infinite Banking. And then you could read his second book, Building Your Warehouse of Wealth, right?
Yep.
Of which this podcast is named for. But the education doesn't stop, and I think it really reinforces, and I think that is partly why, or probably a big reason why people are coming back for policy 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is they just get it. And we talk about mindset a lot, and we talk about it's all about the way you think, and Nelson used to say that too. And people are changing the way they think by practicing the infinite banking concept. It's just changing their brain. They're going from kind of someone who's kind of in receive mode to someone who's just actively looking, actively trying to better themselves. And that's a tremendous difference. And it's going to create a tremendous difference 10, 20, 30 years down the road as well.
Yeah. And it's a lot of fun to see a lot of those clients come back after a little while and bring you something they thought of themselves. Like, hey,
Yeah.
I just realized where I can find more capital. And you're like, I love it because I didn't have to spell that out for you. You figured it out independently because you're starting to change the way you think.
That's right. And occasionally, some of you actually teach me something. You'll ask a question that maybe I haven't, or you'll ask it in a way that I haven't encountered before, or made me think about something in a different way. And I truly appreciate that. And it just goes to show that, trust the process, right? Learn what it is to become your own banker. Take your time. Don't take too much time. Ask questions.
Yeah.
But just start. Take action.
Yeah.
Do it.
Just take action. I remember listening to back when I was, learning how to flip houses. I hadn't flipped a house yet, but I'd been listening to podcasts. I'd been a part of a coaching group for probably, I don't know, 9 months or so. And I listened to a podcast episode from a guy I followed, and he said, you know what? If you've been listening to this podcast for months and months or even years, and you still haven't flipped a house, just stop listening.
Yeah.
Because you need to take action, or you just need to move on to something else. And I was like, you know what? He's right. So I went out and I ended up jumping into a deal that a little too fast. Shouldn't have jumped into it, but I was eager and I was willing to learn from experience and mistakes, and I did.
Yep.
But taking action, even if you take action and not that it's going to turn out poorly for you, with infinite banking, the great thing about it is you take action, and as long as you stick with it, you can't lose. Other things like taking action on flipping your first house. I did that. I lost. But in a way, it was still worth it because of everything I learned along the way. So I wouldn't change that experience. But the great thing about this is you don't have to take the risk. You jump in, and as long as you commit and you have a long range view, you're gonna succeed.
Yeah. No, I remember that. And luckily you had capital that you had contractual access to. So
Yep.
while it was a big deal, it didn't sting quite as much.
Yeah. Yeah. I had cash value I could borrow against to fund the rehab and never have to pay it back until I sold the house 9 months later.
9 months.
9 months. Took a 2-month flip and turned it in 9 months. How about that?
Yep.
But yeah, you live, you learn. I'm going to go back to, you were talking about, you mentioned the back of Nelson's books and the reading. Man, I tell you, if that's probably a part many people overlook, get back in Becoming Your Own Banker over this Christmas break. You got like 2 weeks. Most people are probably taking most of the next 2 weeks off. I know certainly your kids are. They're not going to school for 2 weeks. So you're probably going to have some time off. If you want to read a book and you don't know what to read, get in the back of Nelson's book and pick something. It's amazing. Every time I pick one of his books to read, I I walk away like, oh my gosh, I wish I should have been taught that when I was 10 years old.
Yeah, I
Like
would say
so many good books.
a large part of my like late night binge buying books on either like thriftbooks.com or Amazon or something, or from the back of Nelson's book.
Yeah, I love
Stuff
the
by
history books.
the history books like Thomas DiLorenzo, like The Real Lincoln, or
The Real Lincoln is phenomenal. Or, Churchill, Hitler and the Unnecessary War.
yep,
I mean, that's,
just phenomenal
yeah,
reads.
just
It's
great
I'll
stuff.
say, folks, it's going to be a different look, a different lens, a different view of, or interpretation maybe even of what kind of you were taught in, high school history, pre and post 1877. You're going to get a totally different ideas to consider. That's for sure.
Yeah. Even reading Warehouse of Wealth has a lot
Yeah.
of history in there, like about the Civil War, some things
Yep.
you may never have considered before because we only know what we were taught unless we decide to explore it ourselves. I guess that goes right back to whole life insurance. You only know what you're taught unless you decide to do your own research.
Yeah. So if you do your own research, folks, Dave and I were prepping for the podcast earlier today, and I was like, let me go on YouTube and see, what would somebody search for? How about how much whole life or how much life insurance do I need? I dictated that into that's how lazy we are now. I dictated that into the little controller for the Apple TV, and it spit out a bunch of videos, right?
Yeah.
And of course, there's not one video from an IBC practitioner or discussing infinite banking or how to become your own banker, any of these things, right? It's Ramsey stuff, or it's this other show that I've talked about before on this podcast. And God bless these people. Try to show, give them some grace, but they know nothing about whole life insurance,
All,
right?
nearly nothing.
Nearly nothing, right? They can
Yeah.
regurgitate something on a Google search or something that somebody else said, but they really know nothing. And then they bring on a guest who's supposed to be this purported expert on life insurance, and he's just saying the same thing, like, "Oh, there might be a case where you need whole life insurance." I was like,
Yeah.
again, how can they say that about every single person?
Yeah, those experts are about as useful as the medical experts from the CDC during COVID. Right? You get about
Yeah, don't get me
just as good
started
of
on those
information.
people.
Yeah, I mean, how often have experts been wrong? At the same time, there's some companies that all they do is research, and they've got they're very highly regarded, like Ernst and Young, perhaps, and maybe something we can talk about on a future episode. A recent study they did that basically showed just
Very
through
recent.
their own, very
Yeah.
recent study showing that by adding permanent life insurance to your portfolio, you're going to be ahead of the game as opposed to just doing investments.
I found that, I'm glad you said that to me. I found that very interesting that a kind of an uninterested, kind of global accounting firm is what they are, right?
Yeah, it's a bunch of nerds doing numbers.
doing numbers, and they really just, and they gave you kind of their inputs and their assumptions, which I appreciated. So you can kind of go off, track their numbers and check their numbers. And unbiased analysis too. It's just, hey, this is what we found.
Yeah.
And yeah, so adding permanent life insurance is it'll surprise you, folks.
Or maybe not, based
Or maybe
on
not.
who you are. If you're a client,
Yeah.
it won't surprise you at all.
Right.
It'll confirm what you already knew, which is nice. It's nice to get confirmation from, some a respected industry or a company that's what they do is research.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far from Christmas, but I will say this. The analysis on how term life insurance premiums actually become a drag on your capital savings. I thought that was an interesting comment because, as you know, and our listeners know, that's a sunk cost.
Yep, you're not getting that money back. The only way to win is to die early.
That's right. So if you had paid over whatever $100,000 of term life insurance premium throughout your entire life, had that been whole life premium, that $100,000 of whole life premium would have little baby dollars, many times
Yeah.
over, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
It would create little workshop elves creating more dollars for you.
Oh, there's the Christmas
Let's
tie-in.
bring it
Boom.
back. Yeah,
Bringing
like
it back.
Santa's like
Are
Santa's
we in
workshop.
Santa's workshop?
Yeah, let's talk about Santa's workshop. Right? So, what does Santa do? So break. Let's completely take a left turn here and just talk a new topic. Santa's workshop. What what do they do? Does Santa, December 1st say, "Oh, I got to deliver, 8 billion presents in 25 days from now. Time to get to work."
No. They
No.
start working the day after Christmas. I think the elves actually take Christmas off. So the elves being like the gophers at the company, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they
Or your trusted agent here, advisor.
Yep, they drink a lot of spiked eggnog, take the day off, and
Right.
and then the next day they get right back at it.
That's right.
Yeah, getting to work, making presents for the next year. So that's really what your policy is like. It's like every policy anniversary, you get that dividend. Hey, you get the dividend, not guaranteed, right? But we work with companies who, much like Santa hasn't missed a delivery in, I think, the 200 years Santa's been an actual thing, visiting homes, going down chimneys. These life insurance companies that we work with have never, ever missed a dividend either. So you get
That's
your
right.
dividend, and then the next day you go back to work. Your policy goes back to work right away. You celebrate for a day. Hey, I got that dividend. That's awesome. More death benefit, more cash value. Get back to work.
Yep. As reliable as Santa.
As reliable as Santa. Wow. Yep. Nobody's more reliable. Except mutually owned life insurance companies. Pretty good
Yeah.
history there.
You think the elves? You think the North Pole's is he running a mutual up there, or is there any kind of profit sharing, or they just get extra hot cocoa and marshmallows or something?
I don't know. It seems like it could be like a dictatorship, right? Where Santa's the boss, right? He tells them what to do, but they do it willingly. They want to do it.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like the socialist utopia,
Right.
that they're always searching for, these socialists and Marxists. Like, oh, we can make a utopia. Yeah, if we were all little elves.
Yeah. I
But we're
guess
not.
they are happy.
Yeah, they're happy to be working.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess that's the way I think about it. I don't know. Anybody else has thoughts on elves and Santa's workshop? Let us know. What kind of governing body do they have up there?
Yeah. Is it a socialist utopia, or is it a mutual life? Is it like a mutual life insurance company?
Yeah, I don't know. I bet they have a
But-
lot of fun though.
They get room and board. They get fed. That's their That's their pay, maybe. I guess so.
Yeah, I think they're just paid in joy,
Joy.
kind of like Kamala Harris staffers. They were paid in joy.
Here we accept smiles.
Yep. Anyway,
So yeah, I like
what-
that analogy. Santa's workshop.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it is. You know, the and who it's not just kids that like presents, it's adults. So I still like receiving presents, even though I don't act like it. I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't need anything, but hey, I like it. So if I were to receive, I get that dividend every year, I love it. I mean, that's like waking up with your stocking full of something pretty fun.
Yeah, it's what's interesting, and I know some people are different, and I'm kind of hands off. I do check my annual statement right when I get it, and I file it away with the policy and stuff, where I can download the current. I think we're going to actually be able to download the several years back soon as well. But and I look at it and I'll compare it against the original illustration. But I just care that I get a dividend, but I don't really do any. I don't do much bean counting, Dave, year to year. I just don't.
Yeah, no, because if you do the work at the beginning and you work with somebody who's evaluated different companies, has decided on, the best company to use for this concept, for the banking purposes, and it's a solid company and the policy's designed well, what else is there for you to do? I mean, the only thing you got to do is pay your premium and repay loans.
That's it.
There's nothing else you can do to improve
Nope.
your policy or
That's right.
affect the way it grows. and all you can do is pay premium and repay loans. So
Yep.
there's really not a whole lot of point, even though I think it was at last week's episode, maybe we talked about annual maintenance and
Yep.
end of year planning for your policy. So if you haven't listened to that, go back, because there are some things you definitely want to look at with your policy every single year, because life changes. Look over the last year, how, what has happened in the last year that maybe affects something in your policy that you need to update.
Yeah, and I think generally, folks, you guys are all paying your full base and PUA premium every year, but maybe some people aren't. Maybe they took a loan and they can't pay both. So there might be an opportunity to fill up that PUA at the end of the year, or the end of the policy year, I should say, right? But
Yeah, or catch up from PUA you
Yeah.
didn't pay the year before,
yeah, no,
because you've got a
exactly.
catch up provision in there. Or if you had that big lump sum planned for your policy and it's been 8 months or so, maybe
Yeah,
it's
don't
time to start
forget.
looking at funding that before
Yeah.
you miss out on the opportunity.
Right, don't forget. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. But the best gifts I can think of, usually the best gifts are things that create memories.
Yes.
Right? Like, I can't tell you what I got for Christmas last year. Maybe I could if I tried, but 5 years ago, no clue. Right? So I'm not going to remember that kind of stuff. But anything that appreciates with time, I will remember. Whether that's an heirloom, something passed down from my family, or, an asset that appreciates, or a memory. Well, in this case, your policy, your whole life insurance policy appreciates every single year. So,
Yep, and you don't have to do anything to make that happen either.
Yep. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
It's the only insurance that gets cheaper with time. We said that on a podcast before too. So and it's the only one that's not a sunk cost whole life.
Yeah. Wow. And it's the only insurance that will essentially pay for itself over time. I mean, you get back
Yeah, really,
access to
over,
everything you ever put in.
Pays for itself in a decade.
Yeah, without having to file a claim.
Right.
Like, other insurance can pay for itself when you have to file a claim, but this will pay for itself while you're still alive.
Yeah, so quick side note, if you're listening to the wrong people and they tell you, hey, it's going to take you 25 years to break even or 20 years to break even on your whole life policy, premium and cash value access, that's not true.
No, it's not if it's designed to, for the purposes of banking.
Right.
It's much
mean,
quicker
heck,
than that.
You could do one without a PUA rider at all, and all base policy will still break even around year 15, year 14, depending on
Yeah.
some stuff. So it's really... Anyway, sorry. Side note.
Yeah. Again, do your own research. And do the right kind of research. So,
Yes.
yeah. Well, you got any big plans for Christmas? You guys going
No,
anywhere?
we're going to stay... I washed my truck today. It was 60-something degrees and sunny.
What?
Yeah,
Wow.
it was crazy. Started off miserable, cold and rainy, and then it ended up... So no, we're going to stay local. We're going to stay here, and then a couple of days after Christmas, we're going to drive to Florida, go see Tammy's parents, my parents, and my niece and nephew, my sister. Spend some time down there. Probably go to a car show with our old cars, of course, and yeah. So that's our plan. Then we'll come back around the 3rd or 4th or something of January, and that'll be Tammy's birthday actually. So I'm 2 weeks older than she is.
Oh, cool. So is there like a car show every week in Florida?
Yeah, usually they'll have a meetup at the local Applebee's
Are
parking
you
lot.
the youngest guy there?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's Florida and they're classic cars, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
So
by far the youngest guy there.
You're the only guy who's not sporting silver hair.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that your dad's? No, this is mine.
Yeah. That's
So
cool.
how about you guys? You guys all staying local?
Staying local. Yeah. Wake up, do Christmas. Hopefully we have a white Christmas. Man, last year it didn't snow until December 26th. This year there's nothing on the ground. It's brown and gray out there because it's Minnesota. In the wintertime, I think we're supposed to get snow in a couple days. Will it still be here on Christmas Day? I don't know. But it's not looking hopeful for a white Christmas. But who knows? Maybe we'll get a Christmas miracle. But no, we'll stay around here. I don't like traveling for the holidays. I love being in my own house. I'll probably spend some time in this office over the 2-week break that the kids are home.
Sure.
I mean, I can't remember Christmas falling on a Wednesday when I was a kid and I had 2 full weeks off. I mean, these kids get like 16 days off. It's crazy.
Gonna be fun.
That's nuts. It's over half a month. So they'll be so bored. They get bored quick.
Yeah. Well, you go out into the woods behind your house.
Could do that. Yeah. Well, they get real bored, when you take away video games and screens. Be like, no, go find something. Pretend it's 1985. Go outside and
yeah, in 1985, I actually stepped on a rusty nail. I was hanging out with the older kids. We were in the woods doing something we probably shouldn't have been, and yeah, I stepped on a rusty nail. It's good.
Do you remember? I don't know if you remember the commercials. They were in the 80s at 10 o'clock. These commercials would play that said, "Do you know where it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are?" It was all these celebrities asking parents who were watching TV at 10 p.m. Hey, parents, do you know where your kids are? It's 10 p.m. That was the 80s, man. What a great decade.
Yeah, I feel bad for the kids now.
They have no idea.
It was better. It was.
It was better. The 90s, I think, were probably the peak of American civilization.
Yeah. And that's not opinion, folks.
That's
fact.
That's fact.
It's fact.
That's fact.
It's not debatable.
Great times, man. I mean, they make TV shows about the 80s. So obviously it was a great time.
Anyway.
The Goldbergs. That's hilarious.
Right.
Well, all right.
Cool.
All right, man. Well, hey, everybody, enjoy the week. Hopefully you get some rest, relaxation, and just enjoy the time with family, food, football, and Christmas. So, all right, we'll be back next week, the last podcast right before the new year, and we'll take us into the new year. So, looking forward to that and starting a brand new year with everybody here. So enjoy the rest of this one. And Paul and I will be back. You ain't getting rid of us this quick.
That's right.
Yeah. Like it or not.
Like it or not.
Yeah.
We're going to be here.
Yep. So, all right, everybody. Hey, until next week, control your capital.
Or somebody else will.
Hey, thanks for listening, everybody. If you'd like to have a conversation with us to see how you can become your own banker, or if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to tackle in a future episode, please send us an email to davidandpaul@theibcguys.com.
And subscribe and leave us a review if you're on Apple. Follow and leave us a 5-star review if you're on Spotify. And please share this with your friends. We'll see you next week.